My sister pulled a prank on me, mocking me at a family party and making me a laughingstock. But when I took her to court, she stopped laughing. I should have known something was off when my sister Amanda announced her genius idea during our family gathering. Amanda, 32, has always been the life of the party, the kind of person who makes everything about herself. And I, Jacob, her younger brother at 29, have always been her favorite target. It was our dad's birthday, a big one, his 65th. The whole family was there, buzzing around the large dining table at my parents' house. Mom had gone all out, decorating the place with banners and balloons, while Dad sat at the head of the table, soaking in the attention. I was trying to keep a low profile, sipping on my drink, when Amanda suddenly clinked her glass loudly, grabbing everyone's attention. "Okay, everyone, I've got an idea," she said, flashing her signature smile, the one that usually meant trouble. For Dad's big day, I thought it would be fun to do something memorable. A family prank. The room buzzed with excitement. My younger cousin, Logan, who was 16 and Amanda's biggest fan, started clapping like she'd just announced free tickets to a concert. My mom smiled nervously. She wasn't a big fan of Amanda's antics, but didn't want to be a killjoy. Even my dad looked intrigued. "Who's the victim?" Aunt Clara asked, her wine glass swaying dangerously in her hand. I could already feel the room's collective gaze shifting toward me before Amanda even said a word. "Jacob," she announced, pointing dramatically in my direction. I froze, my heart sinking. Amanda had a way of turning the simplest jokes into over-the-top spectacles. The last time she pulled something like this, I ended up with a pie to the face in front of my coworkers at a company picnic. It took weeks to live that one down. "No way," I muttered, shaking my head. "Not interested." "Oh, come on, Jake." Amanda pouted, already using the nickname she knew I hated. "It'll be harmless. Besides, you're the only one who can handle it. Right, everyone?" My mom looked hesitant, but she didn't object. My dad chuckled, clearly enjoying the show. And the rest of the family? They cheered, egging me on like I had any choice in the matter. I sighed, feeling cornered. "Fine," I muttered. "What's the plan?" Amanda's grin widened. "You'll see," she said, her tone practically dripping with mischief. The next morning, Amanda called a planning meeting in the living room. Most of the family gathered, curious about what she had in store. Amanda was in her element, standing in front of a whiteboard she dragged out of nowhere. "Okay, so here's the deal," she began, drawing a stick figure on the board, presumably me. "Jacob will think we're celebrating Dad's birthday with a normal family activity, but instead, we'll set up a fake escape room experience in the basement. He'll have to solve all these crazy puzzles to escape. And here's the kicker." She paused for dramatic effect. "There's no way out until we decide he's done." The room erupted in laughter. My cousin Logan was practically rolling on the floor. Even my usually serious uncle, Mark, cracked a smile. "Wait," I said, raising a hand. "What if I don't want to do this?" Amanda waved me off. "Relax, it's all in good fun. Trust me, you'll love it." I didn't trust her, not for a second. But saying no wasn't an option anymore. The whole family was on board, and backing out now would just make me look like a sore loser. On the day of the prank, Amanda and her accomplices, Logan and my other cousin, Riley, spent hours setting up the basement. I wasn't allowed to see anything, but I could hear them giggling and whispering through the closed door. Meanwhile, the rest of the family acted like it was just another birthday party. My dad was in a great mood, chatting with everyone and cracking jokes. Mom kept busy in the kitchen, pretending not to notice the chaos brewing in the other room. Finally, Amanda appeared, looking triumphant. "All right, Jacob," she said, clapping her hands together. "It's showtime." I followed her down the stairs, my stomach twisting with nerves. The basement was unrecognizable. They'd covered the walls with black sheets and scattered fake cobwebs everywhere. A single table sat in the center of the room, covered with random objects, a lockbox, a deck of cards, some fake keys. It looked like something out of a low-budget horror movie. Amanda handed me a blindfold. "Put this on." "Seriously?" I asked. She nodded, grinning. "Trust me." I reluctantly tied the blindfold over my eyes, and Amanda led me to the center of the room. When she removed it, I found myself standing in front of the table, surrounded by the rest of the family. They were all wearing party hats and holding flashlights, which they pointed at me like I was some kind of circus attraction. "Welcome to the escape room," Amanda announced dramatically. "Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to solve the puzzles and escape, or face the consequences." "What consequences?" I asked warily. Amanda just smirked. "You'll find out." The first puzzle seemed simple enough. I had to find the right key to open the lockbox on the table. There were about a dozen keys scattered around, so I started testing them one by one. The family watched in silence, their faces lit by the eerie glow of their flashlights. Finally, I found the right key and opened the box. Inside was a piece of paper with a riddle. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I?" "An echo," I said immediately. Amanda raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "Not bad," she said, "but don't get cocky. It's about to get harder." The next challenge involved a series of clues hidden around the room. Each clue led to another, and I had to piece them together to unlock the next stage. It was like a scavenger hunt, but way more frustrating. The whole time, the family was laughing and shouting helpful advice, which mostly involved yelling out wrong answers. But then, things started to get weird. One of the clues led me to a box tucked away in the corner of the basement. When I opened it, I found a stack of old photographs. They were black and white, faded with age, and I didn't recognize any of the people in them. "What the hell is this?" I asked, holding up one of the photos. Amanda's smile faltered for the first time. That's not part of the game." "Then why was it hidden with the clues?" I pressed. She shrugged, but her expression had shifted. She looked genuinely uneasy. And that's when I started to suspect that this prank wasn't as harmless as Amanda had claimed. After the bizarre escape room experience, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Amanda had been her usual over-the-top self, but something about those old photos I found felt off. And the way her demeanor changed when I confronted her, it didn't sit right with me. That night, after most of the family had left and the house was quiet, I pulled Mom and Dad aside. They were in the kitchen cleaning up, chatting about how well the party had gone. "Hey, can we talk for a second?" I asked, leaning against the counter. Mom glanced at me, her hands buried in soapy water. "Of course, Jacob. What's on your mind?" "It's about Amanda's prank," I started. "I think something's not right about it. Those photos I found." Dad cut me off with a chuckle. "Oh, come on, Jacob. Amanda's always been dramatic. It's just her way of having fun." "I'm serious," I said, my tone sharpening. I found a box of old photos hidden with the clues. They didn't look like anything related to the prank, and Amanda acted weird when I brought it up. Mom sighed, pulling her hands from the sink and drying them on a towel. "Jacob, you've always been sensitive to these things. Amanda was just trying to entertain everyone. Don't overthink it." "Sensitive?" I repeated, incredulous. "I'm not being sensitive. I'm telling you, something about this doesn't add up." Dad clapped me on the shoulder, his expression kind but dismissive. "Look, son, I think you're just reading too much into this. Amanda likes to push buttons, but that's all it is. Let it go." I could feel my frustration bubbling over. What if it's not just a prank? What if Amanda's hiding something? Mom exchanged a glance with Dad, clearly annoyed. "Jacob, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Let's just enjoy the weekend, okay?" The next day, Amanda doubled down on her theatrics. She started dropping cryptic messages in the family chat, ramping up everyone's excitement for her so-called grand finale. In one message, she wrote, "Hope everyone's ready for round 2. This one's going to be unforgettable." Logan responded almost immediately, adding a string of fire emojis. "Can't wait. What's the theme this time?" Amanda replied with a winking emoji. "You'll see. Let's just say it's going to blow your mind." I couldn't help myself. I typed out a response. "Are we sure this is a good idea? Last night was already a little too much." Amanda's reply was swift and sarcastic. "Oh, lighten up, Jacob. It's a prank, not a court trial." The rest of the family jumped in, telling me to relax and stop being a buzzkill. Even Mom chimed in, writing, "Amanda's worked hard on this. Let's just have fun, okay? I wanted to scream. Was I the only one who saw the red flags? Later that evening, I decided to do some digging. If Amanda wasn't going to tell me what was really going on, maybe I could figure it out myself. I started by asking Riley, my 18-year-old cousin, who had helped Amanda set up the escape room. Hey, Riley, I said, catching her as she was scrolling on her phone in the living room. Can I ask you something about last night? She looked up, suspicious. What about it? The photos in the box. Do you know where Amanda got them? Riley hesitated, biting her lip. I don't know. She told us not to touch that box. What do you mean? She said it was off-limits, Riley admitted. We just thought it was part of the game. My stomach dropped. If even Riley, who had helped set up the prank, didn't know about the photos, what else was Amanda hiding? Over the next few days, Amanda kept teasing her plans. In one message, she wrote, "This next prank is going to be a little personal. Let's just say I know things, winky face." Everyone in the chat was eating it up. My cousin Zoe, always eager for drama, replied, "OMG, what do you mean?" Amanda's response was cryptic as ever. Secrets have a way of coming out. Can't wait to see everyone's faces. I couldn't take it anymore. I called Amanda directly. What the hell are you doing? I demanded as soon as she picked up. Jacob, she said, her tone dripping with mock innocence. Why so serious? Cut the crap. What are these secrets you're talking about? Oh, relax, she said with a laugh. It's all in good fun. Is it? I shot back. Because it feels like you're setting me up for something. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Amanda said, "You'll just have to wait and see." That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with possibilities. What did Amanda mean by personal? Was she planning to humiliate me again? Or was it something worse? I decided to confront my parents one last time. Maybe if I showed them how serious I was, they'd finally listen. I don't think this is just a prank anymore, I told them after dinner. Amanda's hinting at something bigger. Mom sighed, looking tired. Jacob, we've been through this. Amanda's just being Amanda. No, I said firmly. She's hiding something. And I think it has to do with those photos. Dad shook his head. Jacob, you need to let this go. Amanda's not trying to hurt anyone. You don't know that, I snapped. She's been acting weird all week. What if this prank goes too far? Mom looked at me with a mix of frustration and pity. Jacob, I know you and Amanda have your issues, but you need to trust her. She's your sister. I wanted to argue, but I could see it was pointless. They weren't going to take me seriously. The next morning, Amanda sent another message in the family chat. Ready or not, the prank is happening tonight. Don't be late, winky face. The family was buzzing with excitement, throwing around guesses about what Amanda had planned. My Aunt Clara speculated it would be some kind of treasure hunt. Logan joked that it might involve a water balloon fight. No one seemed the least bit concerned about my warnings. I felt like I was losing my mind. The day of Amanda's grand finale arrived, and I felt like I was walking into an ambush. The family chat had been buzzing with excitement all morning. People were guessing wildly about what Amanda had in store, and everyone seemed to be in on the joke except me. By the time I arrived at my parents' house that evening, the living room was packed. Friends, extended family, even some of my dad's golf buddies were there, filling the space with chatter and laughter. Amanda, of course, was at the center of it all, holding court like the queen of chaos. Oh, there he is. Amanda called out when she saw me, her voice loud enough to turn every head in the room. The man of the hour. Great, I muttered under my breath. I could already feel the heat of everyone's eyes on me. Amanda strutted over, grinning like she just won the lottery. Ready for some fun, Jake? I don't think I have a choice, do I? I replied, forcing a smile. The truth was, I felt like a cornered animal. Nope, Amanda said cheerfully, slapping me on the back. All right, everyone, let's get this started. The first part of the evening was harmless enough. Amanda had set up a slideshow of funny family photos, baby pictures, awkward school portraits, and candid shots from old vacations. The crowd laughed and clapped as embarrassing images of everyone flashed across the screen. I even managed to laugh at a few of my own. But then, Amanda's tone shifted. Now, Let's talk about Jacob, she said, her grin widening as she clicked to the next slide. It was a picture of me in college, wearing a hideous sweater and holding a beer bong. The room erupted in laughter. Jacob here has always been a bit of a character, Amanda said, her voice dripping with mock affection. Remember that time he tried to impress a girl at the lake house by doing a backflip off the dock and ended up in the ER instead? The crowd howled. My cheeks burned as I forced a tight-lipped smile. That story had been buried for years, and now it was public domain. And who could forget the infamous karaoke night? Amanda continued, clicking to a video of me drunkenly butchering Bohemian Rhapsody at my cousin Zoe's wedding. The room was in hysterics, and I wanted to crawl under the couch. As the evening went on, Amanda's jokes became sharper, more personal. She recounted every embarrassing story she could think of, like the time I accidentally texted my boss instead of my girlfriend, or the time I got locked out of my own apartment wearing nothing but a towel. Each tale was met with uproarious laughter, but I could feel the tension building in my chest. Then she dropped the bombshell. You know, Amanda said, her voice taking on a conspiratorial tone, Jacob has always been a dreamer. He's had so many big ideas over the years. Like his little business venture. I froze. She wouldn't. Oh, come on, Jacob, don't look at me like that, Amanda said, smirking. Everyone loves a good underdog story. She clicked to the next slide, and there it was, a screenshot of the website I had built for my failed startup. The one I'd poured my savings into. The one that crashed and burned after 6 months, leaving me broke and humiliated. The room went silent for a moment, and then the laughter started, nervous at first, then louder. I could feel the blood drain from my face as Amanda launched into her monologue. Jacob here thought he was going to revolutionize the world of, what was it again? Custom dog accessories, she said, feigning confusion. Oh, right, perfect fit. He even had a tagline. Because every dog deserves a tailored collar. Isn't that cute? I couldn't breathe. My hands clenched into fists at my sides as Amanda continued, detailing every misstep and failure of my business like it was the punchline to some elaborate joke. And the best part? Amanda said, laughing so hard she could barely get the words out. He spent thousands on marketing, only to sell, what, 3 collars? One of them to Mom. The room erupted in laughter, but I didn't hear it. My vision blurred as I stared at Amanda, who was too busy basking in the attention to notice the look on my face. I couldn't take it anymore. Without a word, I stood up and walked out of the room. The laughter followed me down the hallway, echoing in my ears as I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. Jacob, wait. Someone called after me, probably Mom, but I didn't stop. I stepped out into the cool night air, slamming the door behind me. My chest heaved as I tried to catch my breath, the humiliation still clawing at my throat. I got into my car and drove aimlessly for what felt like hours, my mind racing. How could Amanda do this to me? In front of everyone? This wasn't just a prank. It was a calculated attack, designed to humiliate me in the worst way possible. When I finally pulled into my driveway, it was almost midnight. My phone was buzzing with messages, apologies from Mom, awkward jokes from cousins, and of course, a text from Amanda. Come on, Jake. It was just a joke. Don't be so dramatic. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling with anger. A joke? Is that what she called exposing my deepest failures in front of our entire family? I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I tossed my phone onto the couch and sat in the dark, replaying the night over and over in my head. The next morning, I woke up to a flurry of notifications on my phone. At first, I thought they were just follow-ups from family members, maybe an apology, or at least some acknowledgement of how wrong last night had been. But when I opened my social media feed, my stomach dropped. Amanda had posted a video. The caption read, "When a family prank goes perfectly." There it was, a heavily edited highlight reel of my humiliation. It started with clips from the slideshow, showing my college antics and karaoke debacle, and then moved into the grand finale, Amanda's full takedown of my failed business venture. She'd even added cheesy sound effects and subtitles, turning my pain into a comedy sketch. The comments were worse. People called it hilarious, with some joking that it was brutal but brilliant. Someone even asked if the whole thing was staged, which somehow made it feel worse. This wasn't staged. This was my life. It had already racked up hundreds of likes, mostly from Amanda's friends and mutuals. Scrolling through, I felt my stomach churn at the laughter of strangers. Each comment was another jab, reminding me that Amanda had turned my pain into entertainment. I couldn't stay silent. In the family group chat, I typed out a message, trembling with frustration. I demanded to know what Amanda had been thinking and whether she realized how humiliating the video was. My words were sharp, fueled by a sleepless night and a growing sense of betrayal. There was a pause after I sent the message, but then responses started trickling in. Mom tried to reassure me that Amanda hadn't meant any harm, suggesting that I might be overreacting. Logan jumped in, laughing it off and telling me to lighten up. Uncle Mark chimed in too, saying Amanda was just entertaining everyone, adding that I needed to learn to laugh at myself. When Amanda finally responded, her reply dripped with sarcasm. She dismissed my concerns, claiming I was being dramatic and suggesting that if I learned to take a joke, I wouldn't be so uptight. Her words stung. It was clear she saw nothing wrong with what she'd done. I stared at the messages, feeling a mix of anger and despair. No one seemed to care how I felt. No one except for Sarah. A private message from her popped up shortly after the group chat conversation ended. She told me she was on my side, making it clear she thought Amanda had crossed the line. She reassured me that I wasn't overreacting and offered to back me up if I needed her to. I told her I appreciated her support, but I didn't want to drag her into the mess. It was enough to know that someone else understood. Her words gave me a small sense of relief, a reminder that I wasn't entirely alone in this. Throughout the day, the video continued to spread. Amanda was reveling in the attention, sharing it across multiple platforms and tagging me in some of her posts. Notifications flooded my phone, each one a reminder of the humiliation I'd endured. By mid-afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned my phone off and sat in the silence of my apartment, trying to process everything. That evening, Sarah called me. Her voice was filled with frustration as she told me I needed to stand up for myself. She reminded me that Amanda's actions weren't just thoughtless, they were cruel. Sarah said I deserved better and urged me not to let Amanda get away with this. Her encouragement gave me the push I needed. For the first time all day, I felt a flicker of courage. I opened my laptop, stared at the screen for a moment, and then began typing a long message to the family chat. In it, I spelled out exactly how I felt. I explained that Amanda's prank wasn't funny, it was cruel. I detailed how she had taken one of the most painful experiences of my life and turned it into a joke for everyone to laugh at. I reminded them that this wasn't the first time Amanda had used me as her personal punchline, and I made it clear I wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. When I hit send, my heart pounded in my chest. I waited, hoping for some kind of validation, but the responses were disheartening. Mom apologized that I felt upset, but reiterated that Amanda hadn't meant to hurt me. Logan dismissed me entirely, saying it wasn't that deep, while Uncle Mark accused me of blowing the situation out of proportion. Amanda's reply was the worst. She accused me of playing the victim and claimed I was exhausting to deal with. She told me I needed to stop sulking and start laughing at myself, painting me as overly sensitive and incapable of taking a joke. I clenched my fists as I read her words, feeling the sting of her mockery. Just as I was about to close the chat, a new message came through. Sarah had finally spoken up. She didn't hold back, calling out Amanda for her behavior and pointing out that the prank had gone too far. Sarah told Amanda to stop hiding behind the excuse of, "It's just a prank," and to take responsibility for her actions. The group chat fell silent after Sarah's message. Logan weakly told her to chill, but Sarah wasn't backing down. She firmly stated that Jacob had every right to be upset and that someone needed to hold Amanda accountable. For the first time all day, I felt like someone truly understood what I was going through. After Sarah's bold defense in the family chat, I held on to a sliver of hope that Amanda might finally see the harm she'd caused. But my optimism was short-lived. Instead of apologizing, Amanda doubled down, posting another video online. A follow-up where she mockingly addressed my complaints, adding sarcastic captions about me being overly sensitive. She had no remorse. Worse, my family continued to side with her. Mom sent me another long-winded text, urging me to forgive and forget because Amanda didn't mean any harm. Dad didn't even bother to weigh in, clearly unwilling to take sides. Logan made snarky comments whenever I tried to speak up in the chat, and even my Aunt Clara, who usually avoided drama, dismissed the issue as family nonsense. I couldn't take it anymore. The endless attempts to explain my feelings, the gaslighting, and the outright mockery. It was too much. For years, I'd brushed off Amanda's behavior as harmless, excused by her charisma and the family's blind loyalty to her. But this time, she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I realized there was no salvaging this. Amanda didn't see me as a person, only as a prop for her entertainment, and my family, for all their claims of love and support, had made it painfully clear where their loyalties lay. It started with a decision to cut contact. I told Sarah first, knowing she'd understand. When I explained how I felt, she didn't try to talk me out of it. Instead, she supported me, saying I had every right to protect myself from the toxicity. "You've done everything you can," she told me. "If they can't respect your boundaries, you don't owe them anything." Her words solidified my resolve. I wrote a message in the family chat, laying everything out for the last time. I've tried to explain how hurtful Amanda's actions have been, but no one seems willing to take me seriously. This isn't about a joke. It's about years of being treated like my feelings don't matter. I can't keep putting myself in situations where I'm disrespected and ignored. For my own well-being, I need to step away. I wish you all the best, but I can't be part of this family anymore. The reactions were as expected. Mom begged me to reconsider, accusing me of tearing the family apart. Amanda posted a string of laughing emojis, mocking me even in the middle of my farewell. Logan called me dramatic, and Uncle Mark lectured me about the importance of family. But I didn't respond. I deleted the chat and blocked their numbers. Walking away wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Cutting ties meant more than just distancing myself. It meant protecting myself from Amanda's ongoing attacks. Her videos had already done damage, spreading misinformation and mocking me publicly. Strangers on the internet were laughing at my expense, all because of her reckless behavior. That's when I decided to take legal action. I reached out to a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Rebecca, who specialized in defamation cases. When I explained everything, Amanda's videos, the way they misrepresented me, and the emotional toll it had taken, Rebecca didn't mince words. "This isn't just a family squabble," she said. "What your sister did is legally actionable. She used your image and personal information to publicly humiliate you, and the impact on your reputation is clear. We have a strong case for defamation." Hearing her say that felt like a weight lifting off my chest. For the first time, someone was taking my side without dismissing my feelings or telling me to move on. Rebecca helped me file a lawsuit against Amanda, citing defamation and emotional distress. The process was long and grueling. Amanda's lawyer, a smug man named Paul, tried to paint the videos as harmless jokes, claiming they fell under the umbrella of free speech. But Rebecca was relentless. She presented evidence of the harm Amanda's videos had caused, including screenshots of online comments ridiculing me and testimony from Sarah about how deeply the ordeal had affected me. In court, Amanda's arrogance was on full display. She rolled her eyes during my testimony, smirked when Rebecca made her arguments, and even laughed when the judge questioned her motives for posting the videos. Her attitude backfired. The judge ruled in my favor, ordering Amanda to pay damages and issue a public apology. The victory was bittersweet. While it felt good to finally hold her accountable, the whole ordeal had left me drained. After the lawsuit, I took another step to protect myself. I filed for a restraining order against Amanda. I'd seen firsthand how far she was willing to go for attention, and I didn't trust her to respect my boundaries. The restraining order prohibited her from contacting me directly or indirectly, ensuring that I could move forward without fear of more harassment. Blocking contact with the rest of the family was harder. For all their flaws, they were still my family, and walking away felt like abandoning a part of myself. But the truth was, they'd abandoned me long before I made the decision to cut ties. By enabling Amanda's behavior and refusing to stand up for me, they'd shown me where I stood in their priorities. Over time, the silence became a source of peace. Without the constant drama, I was able to focus on rebuilding my life. Sarah remained a source of support, checking in on me regularly and reminding me that I wasn't alone. She even cut ties with Amanda herself, saying she couldn't condone what her cousin had done. "I'd rather have one healthy relationship than a dozen toxic ones," she told me. Her words resonated deeply. Amanda never issued the public apology the court ordered, but her videos disappeared from social media shortly after the ruling. Whether out of spite or embarrassment, she stopped mentioning me altogether. The family tried reaching out once or twice, but I ignored their attempts. For the first time in years, I felt free. After cutting ties with my family and winning the lawsuit against Amanda, I knew I couldn't stay in the same city. Everywhere I went, there were reminders of the drama. The coffee shop where I used to meet Sarah, now tinged with awkward encounters with extended family, or the streets where I occasionally ran into Amanda's friends who would smirk or whisper. I needed a fresh start, somewhere I could truly leave the toxicity behind. Olivia, my girlfriend of 2 years, was the first person to suggest moving. She had been my rock throughout the entire ordeal, quietly supporting me while never pushing too hard. One evening, as we sat in the small, cluttered living room of my apartment, she brought it up. "I've been thinking," she said, her voice soft but steady. "What if we left all this behind? A new city, a new start, for both of us." Her words hit me like a gust of fresh air. I looked at her, seeing the mix of hope and concern in her green eyes. Olivia wasn't just offering a suggestion, she was offering me a lifeline. "Where would we even go?" I asked, though I already felt a glimmer of excitement at the idea. "Anywhere we want," she said with a small smile. "Somewhere that feels like ours." Over the next few weeks, we started planning. Olivia worked remotely as a graphic designer, which gave us the flexibility to choose almost anywhere. I had been freelancing as a copywriter, so my job could move with me too. After researching cities, we settled on Portland, a vibrant, creative city far enough away to feel like a clean slate, but still close enough for Sarah to visit. The process of packing up my life was bittersweet. As I boxed up my belongings, I found old photographs and mementos from family gatherings, reminders of happier times before things went sour. Olivia noticed my mood one evening as I held an old picture of me and Amanda, back when we were kids. "You don't have to throw it all away," she said gently. "Just because you're leaving doesn't mean you have to forget the good moments." Her words stayed with me. I decided to keep a small box of memories, not as a way to hold onto the pain, but as a reminder of how far I'd come. The move itself was chaotic but exhilarating. Olivia and I loaded our belongings into a rented truck and set off on the long drive to Portland. The journey felt symbolic, a physical and emotional distance from everything that had held me back. We stopped at roadside diners, blasting music and laughing about nothing in particular. For the first time in years, I felt light. When we arrived in Portland, the city greeted us with open arms. Our new apartment was small but charming, with large windows that let in plenty of sunlight. The neighborhood was full of quirky cafes and bookstores, the kind of place where it felt impossible to stay stuck in the past. Starting over wasn't easy. I had carried a lot of emotional baggage with me, and it quickly became clear that I needed more help than Olivia alone could provide. She encouraged me to find a therapist, someone who could help me process everything I'd been through. That's how I met Dr. Harris, a calm, empathetic man in his early 50s with a knack for asking the right questions. In our first session, I spilled everything. The years of Amanda's pranks, the lack of support from my family, and the way it had all culminated in the lawsuit and estrangement. "You've been carrying a lot for a long time," he said after I finished. "It's no wonder you're feeling overwhelmed. But it sounds like you've already taken some big steps to protect yourself, and that's something to be proud of." Therapy became a lifeline. With Dr. Harris's guidance, I began to unpack the patterns of my past. The way I had always bent over backward to keep the peace in my family, even at the expense of my own well-being. I learned to set boundaries, not just with others, but with myself. For the first time, I started to see that my worth wasn't tied to how much I could endure or how well I could keep everyone else happy. Olivia was my biggest cheerleader throughout the process. She celebrated my small victories, like when I started saying no without guilt, or when I stopped checking Amanda's social media out of morbid curiosity. On weekends, We explored Portland together, discovering hidden gems like a cozy bookstore where she'd sketch while I browsed, or a hiking trail that led to a breathtaking view of the city. But Olivia also had her own struggles. The move had been an adjustment for her too, and there were moments when I could see her wrestling with homesickness or the pressure of being my primary support system. One evening, as we cooked dinner together, she admitted she sometimes felt guilty for not being able to fix everything for me. "You don't have to fix anything," I told her, taking her hand. "Just being here with me is enough." That conversation deepened our bond. It wasn't about one of us carrying the other. It was about walking the journey together, side by side. As the months passed, I began to rebuild my sense of self. I joined a local writing group where I met people who shared my passion for storytelling and creativity. One of them, a novelist named Liam, became a close friend. He had a dry sense of humor and a knack for pulling me out of my shell, whether by dragging me to open mic nights or convincing me to submit my work to a local magazine. Through therapy, friendships, and Olivia's unwavering support, I found myself again. The weight of the past didn't disappear overnight, but it no longer defined me. I began to see my story not as a series of failures or betrayals, but as a testament to my resilience. One day, as I walked through the park near our apartment, I felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. The sun filtered through the trees, and the air smelled of fresh coffee from a nearby stand. I realized I wasn't thinking about Amanda or my family or the pain they'd caused. For the first time in a long time, I was simply present, enjoying the moment. When I got home, Olivia was sitting at the kitchen table, sketching. I kissed her on the forehead and told her about my walk. She smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "You seem happy," she said. "I think I am," I replied, surprised by how true it felt. Months passed, and life in Portland continued to flourish for Olivia and me. The lawsuit, the restraining order, and the severed ties with my family felt like a lifetime ago. But news of Amanda still found its way to me, mostly through Sarah, who respected my boundaries but occasionally shared updates when she thought I should know. One afternoon, while I was at a cafe revising an article for a freelance client, Sarah called me. Her tone was a mix of curiosity and disbelief as she described the latest fallout from Amanda's actions. "She lost her job, Jacob," Sarah said. "You won't believe it. Apparently, someone at her office found one of the videos she made about you. They reported it to HR." Hearing this was a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Amanda had always prided herself on her reputation, crafting an image of a confident, charismatic leader. She'd worked as a team manager at a trendy marketing firm, where her charm and wit had won her plenty of friends. But the video, with its mocking tone and personal jabs, painted her in an entirely different light. She tried to spin it as a joke, but HR didn't buy it, Sarah continued. "They said it reflected poorly on the company and let her go." I set my coffee cup down, absorbing the news. While I had no intention of reconnecting with Amanda, I couldn't help but feel a pang of regret for how things had turned out. It wasn't that I pitied her. I pitied the person she could have been if she'd ever learned to take responsibility for her actions. As time went on, Sarah shared more updates. Amanda had become a shadow of her former self, avoiding family gatherings and pulling away from her usual social circles. She'd always been the star of every event, but now, her name was more likely to evoke whispers and awkward glances than admiration. Sarah mentioned that Amanda's closest friends had distanced themselves, too. "People don't trust her anymore," she said. "They're afraid she'll turn on them the way she turned on you." Despite everything, Amanda still refused to apologize. When confronted by family members about the consequences of her behavior, she deflected, blaming me for blowing things out of proportion and ruining her life. But the cracks in her facade were becoming impossible to ignore. Even my father, who had always been Amanda's biggest defender, began to waver. One evening, Sarah called me with a surprising update. "Uncle James finally admitted Amanda was wrong," she said. "He actually apologized on her behalf at a family dinner." I felt a flicker of something. Gratitude? Closure? It was hard to pin down. Dad had spent years brushing off Amanda's behavior, always making excuses for her and urging me to be the bigger person. Hearing that he'd finally acknowledged her wrongdoing felt like a small victory, even if it was too little, Too late. He wants to talk to you, Sarah added cautiously. He said he regrets not stepping in sooner and wants to make things right. I thought about it for a long time after we hung up. For years, I had craved an apology from my father, some acknowledgement that I wasn't the problem, that Amanda's behavior wasn't okay. But now that it was finally being offered, I realized I didn't need it anymore. When Dad eventually reached out, leaving a heartfelt voicemail apologizing for his role in the family dynamic, I listened carefully. His voice cracked as he admitted he'd failed me, that he'd been too blinded by his desire to keep the peace to see how much I was hurting. I didn't call him back. It wasn't out of spite. It was out of self-preservation. I had worked too hard to rebuild my life to risk reopening old wounds. Forgiveness didn't have to mean reconciliation, and I had finally found peace in letting go. In the new life Olivia and I were building, the toxic patterns of my past had no place. Instead, we focused on creating something entirely our own. Holidays became an opportunity to start new traditions, quiet mornings with homemade cinnamon rolls, long walks in the crisp autumn air, and evenings spent watching old movies on the couch. Our first Christmas in Portland was particularly special. Instead of the usual chaos of extended family gatherings, Olivia and I decorated a small tree in our apartment, stringing it with tiny white lights and handmade ornaments. We exchanged gifts by the fireplace, laughing as we unwrapped each other's carefully chosen surprises. It was simple, but it felt perfect. Therapy continued to play a crucial role in my healing. Dr. Harris helped me navigate the lingering guilt and complicated emotions surrounding my family. There were days when I missed the good times, the laughter, the shared meals, the feeling of belonging. But I reminded myself that those moments were only part of the story. The rest was a cycle of pain and dismissal, one I had finally broken free from. Olivia was my anchor through it all. She encouraged me to focus on the future, to channel my energy into the things that brought me joy. Together, we dreamed about what our life could look like in the years to come. A home filled with light and laughter, careers that fueled our passions, maybe even a family of our own someday. One spring evening, as we sat on the balcony of our apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below, Olivia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "What's one thing you've always wanted to do but never had the chance to?" she asked. The question caught me off guard. For so long, I had been consumed by the past, by the weight of my family's toxicity, that I hadn't allowed myself to dream. But now, with Olivia by my side, the possibilities felt endless. "I've always wanted to write a book," I admitted. "Something real, something honest." Her face lit up. "Then you should do it." Over the next few months, I poured myself into the project, writing late into the night while Olivia sketched beside me. The book became a way to process everything I had been through. A story not just of pain, but of resilience, growth, and the power of starting over. When I finally finished the manuscript, Olivia was the first person to read it. She stayed up all night, devouring every page, and when she finished, she hugged me tightly. "This is incredible," she said. "You have to share it with the world." In time, life took on a rhythm that felt steady and fulfilling. I surrounded myself with people who valued and respected me, building friendships that were rooted in mutual support rather than obligation. Olivia and I continued to explore the city, finding joy in the little things. A new cafe, a hidden park, a spontaneous road trip to the coast. The pain of the past didn't disappear entirely, but it no longer defined me. Amanda's downfall, my father's belated apology, and the distance I had put between myself and my family were all part of the journey. But they were no longer the center of my story. The future Olivia and I were creating was one of love, hope, and endless possibility. And for the first time, I felt truly free to embrace it.